Do you ever feel like you're spending all of this time constantly creating content to put out there, to show up, but you don't have time to do the things that would actually grow your business? I get it, because I've been there, so have my clients. It's like you're constantly creating, but you're never getting ahead. If we haven't met yet, my name is Isabel, and on this channel, we talk all about embracing your weird in order to build a better brand, business, and life. If you're an entrepreneur and you have social media of any kind, you know that we have so much content to create, whether it's a social media post, a blog post, an email newsletter, community updates, a YouTube video. There's so much stuff that we have to create. And if we're not careful, it can become a full-time job in and of itself. But it can also take away from the important tasks that grow your business, which is where my solution comes in. Batching your content every single quarter. In the first 2 weeks of any given quarter of the year, I will get my newsletter scheduled out, my membership content scheduled out, and the posts that go inside my free Facebook community. So that all in all is 13 emails that go out weekly. It is 13 tutorials recorded for my membership, plus the 26 examples that go along with them. And somewhere between 13 to 26 posts for my Facebook community. Depends on the quarter. Now, I know, like, trust me, I know that this sounds like a lot. It sounds like a lot of work for 2 weeks. However, this is my only focus for those 2 weeks. This is the only thing I have scheduled out for those 2 weeks. I try not to accept client work on those 2 weeks. I try not to accept any big projects for those 2 weeks. I block them out in order to create the content as much as I can. But there's still also another few reasons why it works. Reason number one is I write down any ideas I have. I save any ideas or anything that inspires me during the rest of the quarter. So what happens is I'm not creating from scratch. I'm actually going back into my notes app, going back into my Pinterest boards, going back into my saved folders on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram, and seeing what are the bits and pieces that inspired me to create content, things that I saved as a potential idea, and then I'm creating from there. What that means is I'm not staring at a blank page, I'm writing out like email 1, and then, thinking. No. I'm going into my notes app and I'm searching email and I have email idea, email idea, and I'm going through those notes, and when I'm like, oh, I could write about this, I'll grab that one, write the email, get it done. Reason number 2 is I start with my email newsletter. And the reason I do that is because I send one single email every single week. And this gives me a solid structure for how the quarter is going to look like, right? So once I write out my emails, I get to see what am I sending first, what am I sending later, and that also allows me to see what I'm promoting. A lot of my sales come in through my email newsletter. So if I'm sending an email that week about a specific course I have, I can then tie that to the posts that will be going out in my community or the posts that will be going out on my social media platforms. And that allows me to start creating a structure for the promotion plan for that quarter, right? Which also allows me to see what events I can accept, what promotion periods I can accept, and which ones I can't. It also allows me to then finish out the quarter and know that I'm showing up in the place where I normally get more sales. Reason number 3 is that I repurpose and I reuse. Because I start with my emails, I can then say, let's say I wrote an email about money mindset, I can then take a paragraph from that email and use it as an inspiration for a social media post, for a post that's going inside my community. Not everyone that's inside my free community is on my newsletter, and vice versa. There are people who are on both, right? But the people who are on both are just going to get 2 different pieces of content on the same subject, and that will give them a fuller picture. The people who are only on one or the other are going to get the message that I want to send about that topic in a different way, specific to the platform or specific to the place where they're hanging out at the most. But again, this means that I'm not creating all of this content from scratch. Why do I do this? And why do I encourage all my clients to do this? Because it frees up time, it frees up headspace, and it frees up energy. Once all of my content for the quarter is scheduled out, I can immediately feel like my shoulders relax. I can feel a shift in my energy. And I know that I can relax because no matter what happens in that quarter that's coming up, I'm showing up in my business. When you own your own business, and if you're an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, right? And it depends a lot on what you do, and life throws you a curveball, it's really hard to keep showing up in those moments. And so having this content scheduled out means that if I need to take a break and be away for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month, I can. And I can because while I'm away, there will still be content going out. There will still be sales coming in. And that is key and important for avoiding burnout and for avoiding a crash and burn, overworked cycle when you own your own business. But it also frees up the time for me to then work on the bigger pieces of business, right? If you've heard of the Eisenhower matrix, where he talks about things that are urgent or important or not urgent, not important, content tends to have an urgent feel about it. We feel the urgency to show up. We feel the urgency to go out and create more and keep posting and keep creating because a social media post only has a certain lifespan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The things that can up-level your business are really important, but a lot of the times they don't feel as urgent. Going into a product that you created and spending time creating a new workbook for it, it's important because you know it can improve your product, but it's not urgent because you're still selling the product without the workbook anyways, and people won't know the difference, right? Like, what you can't see can't hurt you in a way, but it is important. The things that grow your business, working on your funnels, working on gathering an audience or growing your audience, working on your sales tactics, working on your sales pages, your copywriting, improving your products, improving your brand, improving your business. All of these things are incredibly important, but they don't feel as urgent as the content. And that's why I urge you to do this, because then it frees up the rest of the quarter to work on the things that are actually important that you never seem to have time for, and the deadlines keep getting pushed back. If you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps this channel grow. And also, let me know in the comments if you've ever considered batching your content before and if you've actually done it and how it went. The biggest concern I hear, it's just something that I really want to touch on because this comes up a lot in my client calls, is that if you batch out all your content, then you're not present. You're not there. You're not in the moment. And so when something happens, you can't react to it. But that's not true. And this comes from a genuinely good place. This concern comes from thinking, I have to be there and show up for my people. I have to be there to help them. And yes, that is part of your commitment. But there's two things to this. On one hand, you can't pour from an empty cup. So if you need to step back, that is okay. But on the other hand, when you have to react to something, and there's two different reasons this could happen. One is like something huge happened relating to your industry or relating to the world, society, whatever, and you feel like you must speak on it and you must address it. When that happens, if you are on that content hamster wheel thinking, I need to create, I need to create, I need to create, your reaction will be a triggered reaction. It won't be as thought out, as intentional, or as well-spoken in a way, well-written, well-spoken, well-said, well-communicated as you want it to be. The second thing that could happen is that something happens in your life and you want to share it with people, right? In February of this year, I rescued a pigeon that flew into my house, and thankfully my dogs did not get a hold of it before I got to it. That was something that happened in the moment. And there were a lot of lessons in that I shared with my audience. But that doesn't mean having my content scheduled out doesn't mean I can't share that lesson in the moment, right? It means that in this case, right, I looked at the email that was going out that week and I was like, you know what? This email can be scheduled in the next quarter. I moved it and I wrote a new email about rescuing that baby pigeon, and that's the email that went out that week. And what did that do? It made it so that when I batched next quarter's emails, instead of writing 13, I had to write 12 because I already had one that I had written. But also, I could have just sent a second email that week. The world isn't going to end because I send 2 emails instead of 1 for 1 week, right? But again, it allows me to sit down and think and take a step back and show up and be more present than I would be if I haven't created this content, because I'm not in reaction mode. I am present in the moment, truly present. I hope that makes sense. If you are convinced that you want to batch your content, I have some tips for, especially if you're doing this for the first time, but even if you've done it before successfully. I have a few tips that I think change the game for this. The first tip is to start batching a single thing. Don't say to yourself, oh, you know what, this is great. Next week, I'm going to go and I'm going to batch all of my content. I'm going to batch all of my Facebook posts and all my Instagram stories, and I'm going to record 26 TikToks, and I'm going to write all the emails, and I'm going to record YouTube videos, and I'm going to have it all done in 5 days, and it's going to be amazing. It's not going to happen. You're going to burn out, you're going to get tired, and you're going to think content batching is the worst thing to ever happen in the world. Start with one thing. I started with emails, and then I expanded and I started doing my membership stuff. And then I expanded and I started doing my Facebook community posts, right? Start with one thing. And once you have that system down, expand. On a similar note, start small. Don't think, oh yeah, she's totally right. Let me batch out an entire year of content. Why would you do that to yourself? If you've never batched out content, don't even start with a quarter. Start with a month or with 6 weeks. And if that feels too overwhelming, start with 2 weeks. If you can sit down on a Monday and a Tuesday and batch out your content in those 2 days for the next 2 weeks, that still leaves most of those 2 weeks to work on the other stuff. And again, as you get into the habit of doing this and you learn more about the best way you work and the best, because a lot of this comes from testing out what works best for you, then you can expand and say, cool, now I can create 3 weeks of content. Now I can create 1 month and eventually a quarter. Tip number 3, write down and save all of your ideas. I cannot stress this enough. I save everything. Yes, I am that person that has way too many Pinterest boards, saved things on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all the things. I have notes, I have scraps of paper, I have sticky notes, I have notes on my phone, I have Notion. Yes, like whatever thing you're asking me if I have notes on, the answer is yes. But that allows me to connect different ideas, different concepts, different things I've seen, and create the content faster. It allows me to remember ideas that I had I not written them down, I would have forgotten. A couple of weeks ago, I posted a YouTube video that was all about why monthly habits should not be called habits. They should be called projects. That video came from a note that I made over a year ago that I had forgotten that I had made. So write everything down. Just write it down. Trust me, write it down. You're gonna forget it if you don't write it down. Write it down. The next thing, fourth thing, is to use the resources you have at hand. So what do I mean by that? Watch the YouTube videos, go through the courses, sign up for the memberships, buy the templates, like whatever the word resources means to you, because what's helpful for people will vary and be different, right? Use them, find them, get them, use them. I'll give you 2 examples, right? The membership content that I batch every quarter. That is a membership created for people who struggle with creating visuals and creative out-of-the-box visuals for their business. Every week, people get a tutorial on how to create a social media graphic inside of Canva that really would stop the scroll because of how interesting it is and how to apply it to their business. So people who aren't great at the visual thinking sign up for my membership, And that is what they get. They get that help. I am in an email marketing membership, and I'll link both of these things below in the description in case you want to check either of them out. I'm in an email marketing membership. She sends an email template every single week. Do I go in there every single week? No. Have I used every single template? No. But when I'm stuck and I don't know what email to create, I'll go in there and browse, and sometimes it sparks an idea. Or sometimes I'll find a template where I'm like, hey, I could actually really do something with this. And I'll tweak it, and I'll rewrite it, and I'll do some things with it, and I'll send out an email. And they always get results, so it's really great. Use the resources. They're there for a reason. And the final thing I would say is to remember to repurpose. You don't need to be creating every single thing from scratch every single time. And I already kind of mentioned this when I said I write emails and then I may take a tidbit from one of the emails and use that to write a post for my community. But I don't also do that. Like, I take it further, right? You will see that I didn't mention creating social media posts for Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, etc. The reason is a lot of the stuff that I create for my Facebook community or for my emails, I will then take and repurpose to use on social media. And those posts in my community, not all of them, but a lot of them, then get reposted on my public social media later. It is a very easy way to reduce the amount of stuff that you're creating, still show up, and make sure that you're creating the best content. I can't sit down and write 100 posts to post on various things this week. It's just not humanly possible unless you have a team to do that. And I mean like high quality posts, right? But I can write 10 and then repurpose them for different platforms. That is something I can do. I also have a whole workshop and course on this, which I'll leave in the description in case you want to check it out. It goes through my 5-step system of repurposing, which can basically turn, and I'm not kidding, this is not, it's going to sound like an exaggeration, but it's not. You can take a single post and turn it, like repurpose it 26,000 times. So it's great. Like, seriously, one of the best things I've ever created. I'm still impressed by the fact that I came up with it. Remember to repurpose. Be easy on yourself. Repurpose. Use it to your favor. Basically, what I wanted to say is content batching changed the way I look at my business because it allowed me to step off the hamster wheel, free up my time to work on the things that build my business and grow my business, while still showing up consistently for my audience. The final thing, though, I want you to remember is that we're all a work in progress, but any progress is progress, right? This year, I started my YouTube channel, and now I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to batch my YouTube content. I'm not there yet, and I don't have it all figured out, but every day I'm trying to work towards figuring out my content batching system for YouTube. And once I have it done, it'll be added to that quarterly content batching, and I'll be able to show up consistently here with you guys while also being able to interact with you guys in the comments and answer questions and be there for you without having to create the entire video, edit the entire video, post the entire video every single week. So I don't have it all figured out. My clients don't have it all figured out, but progress is progress. Every baby step you take is a baby step that you had not taken before. All progress is progress. Doesn't matter how small it is. It's progress. If you're interested in how I do the content batching and my entire system for content, want me to dive deeper, let me know in the comments so I can make a video about it. If you enjoyed this video, please like and consider subscribing. I make new videos like this every single Friday. And as always, stay weird, stay wild, and I'll see you in the next one.